I stumble across all kinds of interesting law that I'd never heard of. And people I talked to didn't know about this law either. It turned out to be common law. It's something different than what they're applying to us today. And they've been applying a different type of law upon the American people for generations now.
This is your introduction to the Great American Law Series with Fritz Van Mastrite. You are about to learn the key of knowledge. The truth has been intentionally withheld from you to keep you in darkness, ignorant of your true birthright. As America and the world face an acceleration of tyranny, ever-increasing intrusion by government, and an unprecedented consolidation of corporate power by those whose goal is nothing short of the complete subjugation of we the people, it is a matter of life and death that every one of us learn how to stand up and take our sovereignty back.
My first encounter with the law was 1970. And since 1970, I've had dozens of encounters with government officials, anywhere from the police chiefs, district attorneys, judges, directors of enforcement of different departments, government departments, and high government officials. I did not set out my course in life to learn the law, but I was really forced to go into the law library and learn the law to defend myself, and it turned out positive for me. I won all my cases, and I started when I was actually 19 years old, and won my first battle when I was 20. Through the years, I've learned the law quite well. Each time I had to go back to the law library and learn more. And as I was looking through the law books in the law library, the first time it took me 5.5 months to find what I needed to get me free. But in those 5.5 months, going through all these books, state and federal books, I stumbled across all kinds of interesting law that I'd never heard of. And people I talked to outside, they didn't know about this law either. And it turned out to be common law. It's something that's totally different than what they're applying to us today. And they've been applying a different type of law upon the American people for generations now, to our detriment. I have to say, in about the 50 years I've been doing this now, with the dozens of encounters, I have been successful at warding them off on the very first encounter. About a 99.9% success rate. Okay, let's go back to the 90s, early mid-90s, East Bay, San Francisco Bay Area. I ran an ad in the paper that I did home improvement. And so I got a call one morning from a fellow who wanted me to come out to an exclusive neighborhood. And I showed up there about 10 o'clock in the morning and walked into this beautiful home, ranch-style home. And there's a man standing in the living room with a nice suit on. And he asked me if I could give him an estimate on repairs, and in particular, the roof. So I ended up giving him an estimate for just under $14,000. As soon as he read it, he looked at me, he goes, "Do you have a license?" And then I start to think, uh-oh, I'm just getting stung by the contractors board. I said, "What kind of license?" And he says, "Well, a contractor's license." And I said, "Oh, heavens no." I said, "I don't believe in that. And I don't need a contractor's license." And then he goes on to say that, "Are you not aware that the law in California is that you cannot contract for any more than $500 a day without a contractor's license?" And I said, "Well, who says?" He said, "Well, the state legislature has passed a law." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "And does that law apply to me?" And he says, "Well, I believe it does." Well, from that point, I knew I was stung. There were already 2 or 3 agents outside, and these people are wired for sound usually, and he had a microphone on. But a very nice gentleman, I have to say, very nice gentleman. He treated me very cordially. After I initially challenged him, I went on to give him about a 15 or so minute dissertation on who I was and why I was not subject to their codes, rules, regulations, statutes, ordinances, public policies, orders, and mandates, or licenses. And he just listened. He didn't argue. I said, I am one of those unique individuals that am not subject to your laws. And he looked perplexed. He did say, how so? I said, well, because I am a free American who is not subject because of the birthright that I hold. And my birthright provides that I am free from all these codes, rules, and regulations. I told him, I also am immune from your laws because my God has commanded me to not have any other gods before me. I am not to allow anyone or anybody or any institution on earth to come between me and my God. And I said, it appears that you, sir, with all due respect, are attempting to come between me and my God, and your legislature also. And I said, you know, I do have a natural right to contract for whatever amount that I wish. And neither the law or the state or any government official has a right to interfere with my obligation of contracts. So if you don't want to contract with me, that's fine. But you have no claim upon my natural rights. And that's my natural right to work, because my God has commanded me to work, and I am going to work, and I am working. And no one is permitted to interfere with that right. And I told him about my constitutionally secured right to contract, to earn a living, and to move freely about the community. So that went on for about 15 minutes. He told me that he was the director of enforcement division for the entire California Contractors Licensing Board. And what they had been doing for the last 2 weeks prior to that, they would go around the Bay Area stinging unlicensed contractors. And then they would find them or cite them and fine them, sometimes $1,000, sometimes they would arrest them. Then they would broadcast that on television news. So these people were getting stung and fined and sometimes arrested. And after my little dissertation, here's what he said to me. He said, Fritz, he says, that is the most intriguing argument I have ever heard. In fact, I am so excited about what you just told me that when we part ways here today, I'm going to research what you just told me because I want to know what you told me. I have never heard this. And then he says something remarkable. This is the first encounter, folks. He said this. He says, Fritz, he says, I'll tell you what we're going to do. You continue doing what you're doing, and we will leave you alone. And I said, well, thank you, sir. That's a very wise move on your part because this is a battle that neither you or the state can possibly win. And we shook hands and parted ways. Okay, that was the very first encounter. Virtually every encounter I have had that type of success on the very first encounter. How is that possible? Well, that is the subject matter of the courses that I teach. You will learn techniques that will challenge government officials every time they come at you. They're not following common law, they're following maritime law, actually. The American common law is unique. Okay, it is not the same as English common law. However, it came from English common law. But something unique happened along the way, and that happened around the period of time that the Revolutionary War here in America was being fought. And the founders, they knew from history that every system that has been instituted to that date didn't work. It didn't really work to solidify the securing of their unalienable rights. And these are the natural rights that are gifts from God that come through our birthright. And so what they did something unique. And it really started during the Revolutionary War. It started with the Declaration of Independence. And I think we all know pretty much what that's all about. You know, all men are created equal, and that governments were instituted for the purpose of securing these unalienable rights. That's the primary purpose of government. So what they did, the colonies were still under English common law. So what they decided to do was to incorporate some very sound liberty-preserving principles, and this was unique in all the world, and what it did is set America apart from any other nation. We have something at our fingertips so profound if we only knew about it.
Embark on a patriot's journey with the Great American Law Series. It's a self-directed online course designed to equip you with the legal foundation necessary to confidently assert your innate, God-given rights in the face of governmental encroachment. With over 12 hours of focused instruction and accompanying documents, learn the rich history and philosophy that makes America special in all the world. In the initial module, you'll learn how we got our current tyranny, how our nation declined, and how an increasing number of Americans have relinquished the spirit of freedom and succumbed to government demands. In the second module, you'll be handed the key of knowledge that has been kept from you. Tap into your inherent sense of self as God's creation. The light of truth will dawn upon your conscience and restore your power as a free American, once and for all. The third module provides a comprehensive explanation of fundamental American law through original documents and court cases, with detailed lessons in natural rights, government privileges, and lawful authority. This knowledge is indispensable for safeguarding the liberty of free Americans. In the fourth module, you'll continue to empower yourself with the fundamentals of American jurisprudence. You learn the principles that protect our rights and guarantee just interactions with law enforcement and the court system. Gain a profound grasp of due process, jurisdiction, and other foundational concepts crucial for successfully asserting your rights in the face of governmental overreach. The Great American Law Series concludes with 2 dedicated workshops that guide you in crafting and employing various lawful documents with various templates, including the impactful Notice of Liability. You figure out how to use these powerful tools in your life to communicate your identity as a free American and the consequences government agents face for infringing on your rights.
I have never seen such an interest in this subject. It's astonishing how many people are actually interested in this, because they see now firsthand the attacks that are coming from government.
Take a decisive step today with this essential education by registering for the Great American Law Series today. Share this knowledge with others so we can together resist dictators and their government enablers, ensuring the preservation of our freedoms.